in my house too, so I don't feel a bit bad. I think.
No, we actually got this cat out of Big Bear. I don't know if you know where Big Bear is.
No.
It's like it's in the mountains of Los Angeles.
Okay.
This cat was actually from a wildlife rescue, if that says anything. So,
Oh my God, that's very cool. Very neat. Okay, folks, I'd like to do a formal introduction. Today, I have the esteemed honor of interviewing RJ Mitte. I have lots of questions to ask him, so I will get right to it to begin with. I know that the center of your event circulates around Brownsville. So, this is what I know about Brownsville. In my research, I came to find out you are rich in theater, you are very pro business. I also know that there's a museum of fine art that's located there. So, that tells me this is ripe and rich for artistic things. So, besides the family connection, tell me a bit about why Brownsville is so special to you.
oh, see, okay, that is a good one. No, so here, let me set this little kitty cat down. Brownsville to me first was really special because it meant a lot to my grandparents. Their age here and where they came from and how they evolved to the people that they became and the perseverance my grandfather had to grow what he did. And for me personally, I'm a big believer of Brownsville. I'm a big believer of the Valley. You know, I started focusing my grandparents' foundation's efforts here about 7 years ago,
Mhm.
and during that time of like, how could we help the community here? What learning what was so important to my grandfather, and then for me, understanding that personally was like, you have the third largest shipping channel in the world in the Gulf of Mexico on the eastern seaboard here. You have a massive relationship with Mexico and America. You know, this is not anywhere else in the country. There's nothing like it. Our relationship with Mexico and the U.S. and Texas here at the border, and the beach and the islands, and now this evolution of space technology and I'm a firm believer. I'm a big tech guy. I love tech. I'm not always the most tech savvy person,
Mhm.
but I love technology and the development of technology. And you know, there are so many important things happening here with minimal infrastructure and minimal finances and not necessarily for the companies, but for the people themselves, for the community here. And so during my works here, my passion grew even further when was seeing how amazing and rich the culture, how amazing the individual people are, and how hard people want to work here and grow their businesses with minimal support. And we do have a lot of support here, but actually getting that support and understanding that support are different than having support. And so with efforts in growing communities as well as growing leaders. And you know, I'm a firm believer that everyone is born a leader. No one is born a follower. We choose to follow. We choose to accept whatever that path may be. But at the end of the day, everyone is a leader. And so through the heritage of my grandfather here, and then through my own passions of belief here in the Valley, I believe Brownsville, I believe this region of our nation, of our world, is a hub for the future, for everything that will come through technology, space, ocean, engineering, trains, and our relationships with other foreign countries and entities. And this is a massive melting pot of many languages, primarily Spanish, but but um but I just have such belief in this city and in the cities around it to that this is our future down here.
I have to ask this question because the one resounding theme that I saw when I originally thought about coming to your event, I Googled it and I looked up Brownsville. Number one thing they said, if you don't have a car, you're stranded because it takes you miles to drive from the gas station to here to here. Is that true?
So yes, to a degree, you can Uber. There are things. It is a fairly harsh environment without a vehicle here. I mean, I'm at my mother's house right now, and I have a place down in downtown Brownsville, and it's about a 15-20 minute drive,
Sure.
um, regularly. Like that's just that's a normal. Pretty much anywhere I go, I can get into 5 to 15 minutes, but you are driving miles. So walking is very difficult, except for what we're working on in downtown Brownsville, and and so the evolution is we are trying to work with other organizations in the city and the county to help build better walkways and bike paths. This is a very bike friendly city. We have actually some of the largest bike paths in the world that start here. If you wanted to get a bike here, you could ride it from here to California.
Wow.
And we have a lot of commuters. We have a lot of people from the north. It's they're dubbed Winter Texans, and or snowbirds. They have a bunch of different names, but a lot of people ride their motorcycles down from Canada and Milwaukee and all over the north of our country. And so we have this massive biking community, not just motorcycles, but pedal bikes with some of the oldest bikeways in the world. Now, keep in mind, our weather can be very harsh here.
Sure.
We just had a little bit of a monsoon happening earlier today. I walked out, I have about a foot of water chilling in my backyard, but it went away in 15-20 minutes, so we were good.
Sure.
And so I do walk, but again, it is very hard if you don't have a car here.
I'm sure.
But downtown is a lot more accessible.
Gotcha. Okay, I want to take us back a little bit because most of my audience is probably not familiar from your beginnings in terms of when you first started out. So you should know this, that depending on where you look on the internet, RJ Mitte is either originally from Louisiana or Mississippi. So which is it?
So it's very complicated. But I was born in Mississippi. I was born in Jacksonville, Mississippi, and I was adopted at birth. And so my mom is from Louisiana, which is where I grew up a lot of my life. And my dad is from Texas.
Okay.
And so and they split up when I was 2 months old. So
Yes.
so I kind of my whole life was between Austin, Houston, Lafayette, Shreveport, really all over.
I've gotcha. Okay. And when you started out young, of course, I want to talk a bit about this because you have been very kind enough to share with the world, of course, your diagnosis of cerebral palsy. But there was a time when you didn't have that. So do you have any memories of your life in terms of before this all happened? And for you personally, what's the one thing that sticks with you in terms of the person you used to be versus the person you are now?
Knowledge. Knowledge, understanding. Like I so I have cerebral palsy, which you mentioned earlier. For people that are listening or watching that don't know, I'll explain a little bit about what that is. And that's cerebral palsy is commonly occurs at childbirth from lack of oxygen to the brain, which affects fine gross motor skills, hand-eye coordination, speech, and usually more often than not, someone with cerebral palsy usually has multiple disabilities. It's usually not just the one. We come as a bundle, but so for me, I never understood that I was disabled as a kid, and so I thought this was just a natural way of life and how I understood everyone did something different, but I figured everyone had something. And I still do believe everyone has something. We all have our own challenges and our own thing we have to face. And growing up with school, I did face bullies, but I never as a kid linked it to me having a disability. I just thought that dude was a jerk. And so I traveled a lot, as I mentioned. My parents split when I was very young, so I would jump around a lot of schools, and always a new kid, and not just a new kid. I was a disabled new kid, And so people didn't always understand. We don't have I'm only 30 and we didn't have any of this. Like the technology, like we had a landline. Like that was like, if you had a cell phone, that was something. And so kids didn't understand or weren't as exposed to people with disabilities or understood what a disability really is. And so I faced bullying and stuff, but it really never disheartened me. I never looked at it like I was the problem. And it was, to me, it was always they're going through something on their end that they got to work out. And as I grew with it, I learned and I understood more things about what I need to do. Not for everyone else, but for me to control my CP, to live a life that I want to live. And so as for the most part, my personality has always kind of been the same, snarky, but the understanding of different things and the willingness to listen and have that is something that you have to learn.
Sure. Oh, I bet. And I've been told, I've spoken to other individuals. And so what I want to ask you is that sometimes society will say, well, he has this condition or he has this disability per se. And so there's lots of challenges. So my question to you is, what's the best part of living with CP? Meaning, are there advantages to being in this capacity?
Yeah, there are there to what's a good way to phrase this? For every adversity, you learn something. For every wall you face, you knock down. For every moment of failure, there's a learning in that. There's a knowledge in that. For whatever your perception of limitation has been placed upon you, it's there's something in there that we have to learn to overcome and to evolve. That isn't designed for anyone else but you, for who you are and what you are. And so when it comes to having a disability, I think it's a strategic advantage on anyone that doesn't, because the understanding, the understanding of limitations or the perception of limitations, the understanding of some of these things might make you have to realize your own mortality. Some of these things may make you have to do physical therapy and occupational therapy to evolve and to get stronger and to grow that. To the average individual that's never had those challenges, you're not that you're not going to be appreciative, but you'll never be that much more appreciative to be able to pick up a phone, to eat your own meal, to walk across the room, to learn that kind of humbleness, to learn that kind of appreciation. That is a strong-willed individual. That is a person that can do anything with the right tools and people around them to succeed. And for me, that's something that no one, unless you face a challenge that is physically, mentally, emotionally, or whatever that may be, you'll never get that opportunity to learn that. And
Sure.
and for us, for people with disabilities, for people that are going through challenges in their lives, and that when I think of disability, I think of not just a physical disability or a mental disability. I think of financial disabilities. I think of friends disabilities. I think of family disabilities, and not in the negative sense of you have these responsibilities that instead of you growing, you're making that, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, because we all have to make certain sacrifices in our life for the people that we love
Sure.
and what we want to succeed for. And then some people never get that. And I think the people that do get that challenge are the people that guide our world. These are our leaders. These are our future. These are the people that are going to be like, hey, this doesn't work for me. This doesn't work for you. How do we fix this? How do we
Sure.
grow? And without that challenge, we never ask those questions.
I gotcha. Now, there are some people out there, you work in the entertainment industry. There are some filmmakers and creators out there, because they lack knowledge or experience in working with those that have conditions. What would you suggest to them to maybe kind of push the boundary a little bit, maybe get over the fear of, because I can imagine if you come onto a set, depending on what sort of challenges you have, there are accommodations that need to be made. There are certain things that you can or cannot do, etc. Not to be limiting, but mind you, that's just physical fact. So the question is, how do we make it easier for individuals with challenges to be so much more included and have so much more diversity within the entertainment community?
So there are two ways to have that conversation, and to me, I think, to me, it's there is no limitation. We make if you go onto a real professional set with the right assets and right shows that's not cutting corners, guess what? It's accessible.
Right.
They have to wheel stuff in. They're wheeling carts. They're wheeling camera equipment. They're wheeling these things. They're moving wires. They're covering the wire so people can wheel stuff over it. If you're talking about like accessibility or mobility for people with wheelchairs or wheelchair users or other type of physical mobilities, that's already kind of taken care of on set.
Sure.
So like, yes, if you're at a location and there's only stairs, how about don't shoot the individual in a wheelchair there? Like,
Right.
if there literally is nothing you can do, don't just being mindful
Sure.
of that. And it's a simple fix. It's not that you can't find that same room on a first floor. You can. It's laziness.
Sure.
And it's not their laziness on a sense. It's just when you're crammed with so much work, you don't think.
Right.
And you have to realize there's a lot of people in our industry that are overworked, underpaid, that deal with people that they don't want to deal with. And then what happens is they go, oh, hey, we hired this guy. We have to change everything. And then they dump it on someone else. So a lot of it's not the people that are booking it. It's the higher up people that just go, just get it done. I don't care what it takes. And you would be surprised how often over the years I've heard that. Just get it done. Do whatever it takes. I don't care. And that's a bad way. That's how people get hurt. That's how people get sick. Not just because of having a disability, but just in general.
Correct.
And like it is hard to make a movie. It's hard to make a show. It's hard to put on an event. They're not easy. But there is a checkbox like that you hit when it comes down to it. And for me in all my projects, it's accessibility first. It's healthy environments first. It's protect our cast, protect our crew, like make this work experience the best it can ever be. If you have good morale on your set, you're going to have great morale on screen. And so I think a lot of it comes down to people just rushing and not paying attention. And take that time because people want to get those shots. They want to get this movie made. They wanted it a year ago and they're trying to get the money out of it now. And
Sure.
we all understand the finances, that the pressures of returns and all these things. But at the end of the day, it's quality and safety first. And if you have safety, you usually have quality.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Now, forgive me if I'm mistaken, but in the research that I've done, I understand that there are some individuals with CP that sometimes do have learning challenges. So that poses my other side of that question, which is if you're on set with an individual who obviously has learning challenges, can they adapt to make that easier or make things more efficient for that person?
100%. But a lot of that is going to have to be on the behalf of that individual. And as far with learning disabilities with cerebral palsy, that's changed from different people, but anyone have that. But specifically to individuals, I worked with individuals with learning disabilities on quite a few different projects, from individuals with cerebral palsy and others to individuals with Down syndrome and other individuals that had traumatic brain injuries. And so you have to take time and you have to be patient and you have to be understanding. And like, it's one of those things that if that character is the right person for that role, and if that's what you're wanting to put them in, you better make sure you make time for them. You better make sure that that they have the resources and tools to go in and do the job that you saw in them. And so when it came to some of the projects that I worked with Carol of the Bells, Joey Travolta film, was 75% disabled cast and crew.
Mhm.
And really wanted to do it, and people loved the movie. And my mother in it had Down syndrome as well. We had numerous amazing actors with Down syndrome and other disabilities. And,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of times individuals get caught up or distracted, and you have to be like, hey, by the way, what's this? And you work and you guide people that may not always have an attention span. And
Sure.
so we take that time and we work with the lines, and usually someone with severe disabilities will have a handler or a nurse or someone that they work with day in and day out, and you work with them and work through them to help with the artists that may need whatever help they may need, and you process that. And so when it comes to that, I think it's the idea of hurry up and wait.
Ah, yes.
It's wait and wait.
Yes, it is.
So because we a lot of times if someone's easily startled or whatever it may be, you can't just rush someone in, throw them in the middle of a scene and say do your job. That doesn't work.
Sure.
Like, and
Sure.
of course, like you get on a set with 500 people and you have someone with that's like severely light sensitive or whatever it may be that's on there, and you just drop them in and start blasting them with lights. Of course you're not going to be able to perform. You didn't create a conducive environment to get them into that, the
Right.
step that it takes. And
Sure.
so, like, to me, if it's I recommend everyone to work with individuals with disabilities. Like that's my number one spiel is like hire and work with people with disabilities,
Yes.
because they empower your set. And even if they're not in front of the camera and they're behind it, like that's so rich to bring to your set. That's so important to bring to your crew and your cast. And the impact of that to your other castmates and your crewmates of like, how awesome is this person? Like everyone like is like, yeah, you're doing a great job. And that helps everyone else. Like when you hear that. And so seeing it just amplifies your project. And I've really seen it grow. I've seen more people with disabilities in media. I've seen more people with disabilities behind the camera and in major offices. And you know, a lot of people with disabilities are some of your richest people in the world because they're stuck in an area that they're like, this is all I can do, and they run for it, and they become a CFO or a CEO of massive
Right.
companies from a room sometimes. And I think it's so amazing to have seen the growth in our society of hiring people with disabilities and putting it on the forefront of awareness.
Sure. Absolutely. You bet. And thank you for explaining that, because I do think there is quite the fear out there because there's so much pressure on any set or on any given format where you're trying to produce and do it quickly. People are always afraid of things they don't understand. So I appreciate you clearing that up. I want to talk about some of the
Well,
very
yeah,
cool things.
I'm just gonna make a quick comment. So
Sure.
one of our the Carol of the Bells is we shot a 14-day full feature. So we shot 14 days, made a whole feature film with 75% disabled cast and crew.
Okay.
Everyone was like, you're not going to make that day. You're not going. That's impossible. All your people are disabled. Like it's like, no, we're going to do it, and we're going to show that you can make featured films and be on schedule with a majority disabled cast and crew, and we did that.
That's amazing. That's impressive. That's better than most sets I know. And I'm not dissing because I have some wonderful filmmakers, but that is incredibly awesome.
And
This
there's
makes
and
me even cooler.
over. There's nothing wrong with going over, but for us, it was a perspective of if we can show this formula works, it's valid, it didn't inhibit any work. We had no work injuries. We had stunts. We had all these things, and we still made our rap date.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Thank you. Okay. I want to talk a bit about two very cool things that I noticed that you've done. For one, you've been the ambassador for the World Boxing Council, and you've
Yeah.
also, of course, been a celebrity ambassador for the United Cerebral Palsy. So, first, on the Boxing Council side of things, how did you get involved with that sort of thing? That's very, very cool.
Well, I met Mauricio and the World Boxing Council down here in Brownsville, working with another group, and we hit it off. And I'm a big sports guy.
Okay.
I took karate, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, all kinds of boxing and stuff. So I'm a big boxing fan and stuff. And we were just talking about how important sports are. And boxing is such a massive sport and a, a sheer force of power with these guys. And so we've seen a lack of sports, of people going into sports in the communities. There's a lot of people watching sports and a lot of people that are getting sports, but there's not that many. There are a lot, but they're not really that many athletes professionally out there that we really want. What am I trying to say? Initially, what I'm trying to say is that sports are key. Sports are key in our communities. They're key in our societies. They bring communities together, and it's so important to continue to fund these sports and to bring people into the game of sport, either boxing or soccer or football or whatever it may be, and then being an advocate to allow kids that don't get those opportunities in sports to get out there. And so from that conversation, we're like, okay, how can we continue to grow sports community stronger? Because that's really what holds a city together are their sports. If you look at LA and you got the Lakers and the Clippers and the Kings and people rally behind that. And then you got the Raiders and all these other, Dallas Cowboys and the Saints.
Sure.
These are community pillars that the whole city comes behind and is ready for and that they want. And so it's so important to protect those and to provide more resources for kids to get access to the sports and make friends and meet new people and have rivals and go back and forth and grow together. And I think that my talks with the World Boxing Council have been amazing, and we're really hoping to do something very soon for some kids. And I think they're such a great organization with what they do and their outreach, because there's a lot of underprivileged kids
Yes.
that don't get the opportunity to play a sport at all, and that are all full-time working and taking care of their grandma or their mom or their sister or their brother and need an outlet, and sports are those outlets.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And of course, you'll have to invite us down there. My son is a huge boxing fan. And so I'm like, we're always looking to do the whole boxing thing. And I'm constantly like,
Oh,
boxing's healthy.
No, we're
It's,
playing Mexico City anytime.
oh, that's awesome. That's very, very cool. I like that. And of course, in terms of sports, like you mentioned, oftentimes people take for granted the importance of how sports can help someone, whether it's a learning challenge or not. That's sports, arts, being creative, all that good stuff, getting out of your own head a little bit is just so very helpful when it comes to things. When you make yourself an ambassador for someone, like in the case of United Cerebral Palsy, being a celebrity ambassador, what are the sorts of things that you're able to do to be able to not only spread awareness, but to help make people understand more so what it is that you're looking for from us, the community that's not suffering from CP?
Funds.
I knew that was coming.
No, not that's a joke. But yes, it's very true. Every organization is always looking for more funds. Really, I think the number one reason that I do and work with all the organizations that I work with, those are only a few of the organizations that I'm heavily a part of. The number one thing though is community togetherness and outreach.
Sure.
I'm one person, and yes, people are going to hear this, and that will get to more people, but I can only be sitting in this chair right now. And so by working with these organizations, by bringing awareness to these types of needs, by highlighting them, it helps the community to highlight them and to see them and go, oh, I didn't know that was a need. I didn't know that this was happening in my streets. I didn't know this was down the street. I didn't know these organizations exist. And 9 times out of 10, I find people go, that exists? Wait, what do you mean? I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's so many people that don't know. that actually there's even more people that don't and have not interacted with individuals with disabilities in this world. And to me, that shocked me when a gentleman came up to me and was like, "You're the first person I ever met with a disability." And I'm like, "What? How is that possible?" And so the need is a two-part need from society. It's a multi-part need, but there's two sides of this need. There are people that understand this need and the people that don't understand the need. And so how do we get those two people to talk? And that's by engagement. That's by getting out in public. That's by being seen. Not just someone without a disability, but with a disability. If people don't see you, they don't think you exist.
Sure.
And that's something that's always been hard to wrap my mind around. But a gentleman a long time ago told me that. And he was a wheelchair user, and he's like, I never feel seen. And he's like, I don't feel seen because I don't leave my house. And so like, it's like, how do we change that? How do we change people feeling that they're not welcome in society? How do we change the mentality of that you can go anywhere you want without the fear of being inaccessible? And we've done amazing things to bridge that fear, right? To say, hey, look, these are accessible. These are your accessible items. But there's still something between the accessible and the inaccessible. And there's this weird like overlay thing that people that I don't even know exists. And trying to recognize it for years of what is that pivotal piece that's going to change the world one day from no longer being inaccessible to fully accessible. And to me, part of that's technology. That's structure. That's community need. That's understanding. And it's growing and it's working.
Yes, absolutely, without a doubt. Because, oftentimes, like even this right here, a person can be seen just like this. This isn't obviously a large, big stage, etc. But all it takes is just a tiny bit of work to be able to get people seen. And they need to know that they can be seen.
Well, and it actually doesn't take any work. It's just about you getting out of your house. You interacting, you going to buy a drink somewhere, you going to buy dinner somewhere, you going to an arcade or on a vacation. Like this isn't like, oh, I have to go out of my way to inform people. This is something that people carry within their everyday lives but don't think about it. And so by being seen in public having a disability, by using things with disabilities in general public where people can see that and see, okay, this doesn't work. Oh, this works. And having that very distinct image of what works and what doesn't work. And we're still in the trial and error. There's still a lot of technology that doesn't necessarily work the way that we want to work, or it's the batteries die quicker, or whatever it may be. But if whatever that is happening in your room, no one but you knows about it. But if you go out and someone sees that and goes, something needs to be done about that, you just inspire that person to do something about it. And that person may have the ability to do it, they may not. But what that does is it starts that spark.
If I were to ask RJ what inspires him, or should I say who inspires you, what does that picture look like?
It's everything around me. Everything to me is inspiration. Be it family, friends, a couch, a floor, whatever it may be, a video game. Everything to me has some form of inspiration in it.
Nice. If you guys go look at RJ's social media, this is what I learned from him. First of all, he's met Larry King, so I'm incredibly jealous.
I was on his show. It was so amazing.
I can't believe it. That's so awesome. I'll never get to do that. I'm like, that is just way cool. So he's met Larry King. I've seen you falling down in the snow. I've seen you have various different falling downs and little things happening. And I'm like, he's very courageous and he's very, very, you have such a spirit about you. When I look at these different pictures all over social media, I'm like, this guy is really out doing stuff. He's enjoying himself. He's falling down. He's making mistakes. He's living, which is so exciting to see. You are not disabled by anything, really. If you look at yourself, have you noticed that? You are ultra courageous.
I don't know about the ultra courageous part, but I definitely noticed that I get out there and I fall.
Yes. So I did notice that. I also noticed I have to mention this because I was super excited. It wasn't so long ago that you actually got an actual physical proclamation from Cameron County. So I want to talk a bit about that. How did that come to pass? And then more importantly, um, tell me a bit about what you think your grandparents would have said had they been here to be able to receive such a thing themselves.
Yeah. So yeah, a few months ago, I got a placard, honoring me and my family foundation's work here in Cameron County. For people that don't know where that is, it's in South Texas on the border of Cameron County is our county,
Yes.
of Brownsville and quite a few other uh, towns and around the area that my grandfather was from. And For people that don't know, my grandfather, he was a real estate kind of mogul back in the day, and went to school on a basketball scholarship here in the valley, and was from Brownsville, and realized he wasn't going to make a lot of money being a coach, a basketball coach, and then got into the insurance business. And from that, um, he created a foundation in the early 90s, which I am now the president of, and I've been the president of for quite a few years now. And I don't know what he would say. I know he'd be very gracious and grateful for his works and efforts and his resources that he's put in this community, and the resources that I manage to help continue that legacy. And he created the Roy Frank and Joan Cole Mitte Foundation, to focus on central and rural Texas. And we have 5 focal points. It's education, um, elder care, disability services, youth development, and higher ed. And so we have a scholarship and grant program. At the moment, our granting is closed for our project here in Brownsville, for other outside resources. And so about 7, 8 years ago, I wanted to give back to the community of Brownsville. We've been focusing in Austin, Texas for many years, and not just Austin, but rural Texas. I know people think Austin is a major city, which it is, but it is still has a lot of very rural areas and people in need. And so I was looking at the impact that we were making, and it wasn't what it was. $1 million 20 years ago or 10 years ago is not $1 million like it is today.
Sure.
But where could we take our funds to do the most impact? And about over 20 years ago, my grandparents invested into a park renovation project here, that was called the Dean Porter Park. And we helped. I say we, I was a baby, but I was there for the opening. But we opened a children's museum here in Brownsville, and that has a Camille Playhouse, a children's museum. We have a fine arts museum. We have we work with a zoo, the Glassporter Zoo there, which is an amazing zoo. Which
Okay.
it's one of our to me, one of the most precious zoos that exist in the world, as far as rehabilitating and endangered species, bringing them back into the wild, bringing them back out of extinction. And so a lot of your major animals around the country come from Glassporter Zoo, for very special breeding programs to help prevent extinction for certain animals. And so we have such a rich culture and history, and my grandparents believe so much in Brownsville, and I do as well. And so we refocused our efforts from Austin to here, about 7 years ago. And then I've been in a massive community development project here, working with a space and science center, farmers markets, parking. And as of right now, I'm in the middle of closing on 2 major businesses to help with the downtown renovation of Brownsville. And we're very proud of our work, and the community is evolving and providing resources and opportunities for them. It's such an amazing thing to see, because a lot of people don't realize that it's me, or what we do in the community,
Mhm.
and the evolution of people walking and feeling safe, and getting people out there and providing these resources. And what's great is is when I go look at something, there's like a group of people that are right behind me looking at it. So if we don't move forward with the project, someone else has been. And so getting people inspired to open more businesses, open more opportunities, providing more resources. It's really been such an amazing wonder to watch it grow and be at the forefront of it. And for people that don't know Brownsville, we have massive industries here between the U.S. and Mexican relationship with Matamoros. We have the Gulf of Mexico with the third largest port in the eastern seaboard. We have SpaceX and all kinds of amazing interstellar companies that are coming here. And I really believe personally, you asked me earlier about like what makes Brownsville so important to me is it really is the future of our society. When it all push comes to shove between the resources, the community, the culture, the environment here, it really in the future, once we can help people grow their businesses and grow who they are, their brands, and empower them to be leaders in their community. This place is going to be amazing. It is already amazing, but it's going to be even better.
Your energy is exciting too. Just listening to you talk about it, it makes you want to actually be there, be present, and be part of it.
I bring people, anyone that wants to come be a part. I know you do need to rent a car here, but it's definitely worth it.
Oh, sure. You bet. Now, before we talk about the foundation and the event that's coming up, I obviously should mention that you are a working actor and a producer, of course. And so I guess there's really only two questions that I want to ask about the big Breaking Bad thing, because I think everyone and their uncle has probably asked you about Breaking Bad in your lifetime. So I know that recently there was the 15-year, it was like a 15-year anniversary not so long ago, which I knew about. So two questions. First of all, I was in the same room, but didn't get to meet Giancarlo Esposito, which I was disappointed about because I hear a lot of good things about him. And of course, Bryan Cranston is a veteran actor as well. So this is what I want to ask you. Is there anything that you believe that you actually taught these veteran actors? Because I think it is altogether possible for a newer person who's younger, who, especially because you spent so much on screen time with him. Did you teach Bryan anything, or were you guys able to work out some sort of just something that was just between the two of you? You know, I think actors that work that close have something that ties them together.
We do. We during some scenes that were very intimate, hard scenes, we shared a lot of our past in life of going through similar situations that Heisenberg was facing. No, not drug, not drug related, but drug family.
That's good.
Family related things, and so I think I don't know what I taught them, if any, but one thing that I learned a long time ago is there is something that we can learn from everyone, old, young, or whatever. There's always something to be learned, and as a professional, no matter what we do, if there's not one thing, if you don't learn from whatever you're doing, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Because there's always something to learn. There's always something to know. And if you're not finding that, you're probably not that passionate about that. And so I would hope I taught them something, but to be honest, I think they've done this for a very long time and have lived worlds of experiences beyond me in different lives that they're very knowledgeable individuals. Everyone on our set, Bryan and Giancarlo being very knowledgeable, but really Anna and Betsy and Dean and all of our Michael Steven Casada and all our other guest stars and everyone we all learned something from each other, and we all grew with each other, and you know, this was 7 years. We just, like you mentioned earlier, it's been 15 years since our air date of the pilot episode, but there were 7 years, and then it's been 15 years of knowing them and being friends and having conversations. And so as far as learning, though, again, I feel like everyone should learn something, even if they already know it, but there's always something to be learned.
You betcha. And RJ did mention to me, shockingly, you don't watch Breaking Bad?
I do not watch Breaking. I don't watch it, not because I don't want to, but I just don't like to see myself. I don't like to hear myself talk. I don't want to see myself. And
I
I
get
know
it.
I read everything. I read this. I know more than what you see.
Look at that. So my only other question about the series is this: in doing my research, I didn't know this, that the creator, is this correct, that your character was actually written in memory of a deceased friend of the creators? Is that correct? Do you know anything about this individual, like the person himself?
I know a little bit. When I was told about him, it was a long time ago, but I did learn a little bit about him. But he really wanted me to take my own take for Walt Jr.
Oh, nice.
But as far as who my character is based on, it pretty much described me.
Ah,
So Vince had a colleague in school who had cerebral palsy, who walked with the forearm crutches, and was a very good friend to him, and passed away sometime after university. And so Vince had this Breaking Bad script for a very long time, and was working on it for many years, and it was, I guess, it was an homage to him and his memory, and I think that, so to me it's so honoring and humble to be able to be that character for him. And my character breakdown though was pretty much on point for me. It said dark hair, big eyebrows, and mild cerebral palsy, and I'm like, I got that covered.
look at that. That's awesome. That is. So as of now, from what I see, you've got in your career 3 wins, 3 nominations. I see you've been on the cover of Neurology Now. You've done some very, very cool things. I want to talk a bit about acting, as you being an actor. Tell me, of all the various actors I've ever interviewed, there's always one reason why they want to be an actor, not a director, not constantly a producer, not a writer. What is it for you that just pushes your buttons that says, yes, I want to be in front of the camera?
In the beginning or now?
In general, I would say, I think that I find that most actors are pretty consistent about, I want to be an actor because of this. And then over time, it just kind of it grows and grows and grows and maybe evolves over time.
So for me, it was kind of a little different because I didn't know I wanted to be an actor.
That's right.
This wasn't really a career that I was pursuing. As a young adult, as a 12-year-old kid, this is not the career I would have saw myself doing. Like, if the career that I saw myself doing, I'd probably be chilling in cement right now, or like not because it was a bad career, just because I'd probably be playing the or
Sure.
fish or chartering or whatever that may be. So for me, it was kind of one of those things. It was a necessity. I was 12 years old in Los Angeles with no friends, and so my sister was in the industry at one. That's what brought us to LA, and then I just started working to meet kids my own age, to know
Mhm.
people. I say this as a joke, but I mean it very true. And it's not the same like it used to be, with technology versus now to 2005, 2006. It was very different. But then if you didn't go to school, you didn't join a gang, and you weren't in the industry in LA, you had no business being there. Um, so I did what everyone did, is I joined a gang called SAG, and and then never looked back. And for me now, um, I don't look at my acting as, yes, it is a job, yes, it is a business, but I don't look at it as my business. I look at it as something that is something to inspire and to grow, and to grow me. All the roles that I accept are for very specific reasons, and there's
Sure.
certain methods in all my projects that I want to get across, that resonate with me, and when I see that, I'm like, I want this to resonate with others. And most of my projects are niche markets. They're not
Right.
they're not everyone's gonna like it, but not everyone's not gonna like it. And so when I sign onto a role, or go into a project, I look at it, how am I going to grow from it? We're talking about the growing self, and what we can do to help grow that. And so for my acting, I look at it like, how do I grow myself from that? What am I going to learn in those roles, live those lives, and And so it's some I pick just because I want to do them. Some I'm like, yeah, this sounds fun, I'll do it. And
Sure.
but the majority of my roles have a purpose.
So, because you're so selective, if I were to ask you what in your mind distinguishes, what's the push point? Meaning, how do you determine what a good story is and should it be told? Like, for instance, I know you were in a boxing movie yourself. So, for instance, did you pick to choose to be in that role because of your love of the sport, or was it because of the story, or a combination of both?
So it wasn't a boxing, it was Olympic wrestling.
Oh,
Um,
that's right.
you're talking about Triumph, right?
Yes, I am.
Yep.
That's right. My apologies there.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure because I've done some boxing stuff, but not a lot. But so my involvement in that role, Triumph, was for me, the writer Michael Coffey. Michael Coffey, who has cerebral palsy, which the story is based off his life.
Yes.
To me, really inspired of his perseverance, and it's not based directly off of his life, but more of an alternative of if he got those opportunities. And for me, I wanted to be a part of that role because I wanted him to see him get those opportunities. So and because I'm playing him, I'm portraying him. These and in reality, in the world of augmented reality, if I take that movie, that's a reality for him. That's his story, that's his journey, that's his future. And at the end of the day, what did or didn't happen doesn't matter. It's what people will see forever. And what he inspired to create that. And so his legacy. And so I really wanted to help him grow his legacy and live his dream. And for me, that's what is a lot of my basis on my project picking. It's not so much financial gain as it is this going to gain the community? Is this going to have that moral gain, that societal, that I'm trying to think of the right word, but you understand what I'm saying?
I
It's
do. I understand what you're saying.
that foundation of like, oh my God, this happened and we did it right, and the evolution. And to me, making projects that inspire people, making projects that inspire the people that wrote it, that
Sure.
made, that's just as important as it is to inspire the people to watch it.
You betcha. And then you took it one step further, of course, and I know that you've acted as a producer on a couple of projects, one of which I know is coming. What tell me a bit about Isaac, and of course, when can we
Yeah.
expect to see something finalized on that?
Soon. I really hope soon. So yeah, Isaac's one of those that I was like, oh, this sounds wild and fun. Let me do it. And it's about a young man who owns a mortician who's a coroner, and he kind of sees dead people, or he might be killing them.
Okay.
I don't. It's a fine line, and it's up for viewer interpretation. But we're in the middle of editing.
Okay.
We have a distribution deal that we're working on right now. They wanted us because it was more of a suspense thriller of like a drama, more of a drama, less horror vibe. And
Sure.
our financiers or our distribution was like, hey guys, we really want to see it more as a horror movie. And so right now we're restructuring it to make it more scarier or
Wow.
scarier. Yeah.
Okay. I gotcha. Will we anticipate seeing this
This,
2023, you think?
this year, yes. This year. This
Okay.
year.
Okay, just checking. I guess I should probably ask you about the unseen as well, because I do see
Yeah.
that that's completed as well. Do you have a date on that yet?
I do. We're gonna have a premiere in June and July, and then hopefully by September we'll have released.
Very nice. Okay. Now, of course, we want to discuss this. I have two questions relative to the Mitte Foundation. For those of you that are first joining, of course, RJ is the president. It started in 1994. And as he had mentioned, they are instrumental in doing things like community grants, scholarships, of course, the Mitte Cultural District, and of course, refurbishing of the park, and so on and so on and so on. So, two questions about the foundation. First of all, I'm a boss myself of multiple businesses. So I have my own preset sort of goals or things that are important to me, objectives, if you will.
Mhm.
So, A, what is your primary goal as the president of this foundation? And number two, how can we as the lay people get involved to help you build this foundation?
Okay, yeah, I'll do them that way. So my goal as the president of the foundation, for me personally, it's I have a few goals. So I have a fiduciary goal, and then I have my goal as a philanthropist. And so first and foremost, my goal as president is to maintain and manage the funds and properly allocate them so we can continue to grow the foundation. We're self-invested foundation, so we do not take outside resources. We do not take external funds. We collaborate with other entities, primarily if there is excess funds that we can't provide. We work with other entities to help provide them directly to the organizations that we are trying to impact.
Okay.
And so we don't do fundraising again. I know that's weird to hear a foundation say that, but I'm a firm believer. My grandfather left enough funds that we can still generate income and donate to communities.
Nice.
And so to me, I'm my overall goal as president is to maintain and to keep that stability inside our organization. We have 3 amazing employees that work tirelessly. And we have a great board of trustees that I lead, but are very broad in their environments of what they do and who they are, from education to sports to legal to everything you can think of. We have every type of individual on our board. From some have tons of money, some have moderate amount of money. We're not a monetary. You don't make money sitting on the Mitte Foundation.
Sure.
So we as president, I try to maintain and can maintain order and structure within our organization, as well as grow it and be aware of the impact. One of my big things is numbers on how many people we directly impact. And so for me, as not necessarily the Mitte Foundation president, but me as RJ Mitte, my goal and my belief for all organizations. Oh my God, I just drew a blank.
That's okay. That's all right.
But to overall be able to just provide resources and tools and understanding. And then my grandparents, who created the foundation, were really big into education, both educators, arts and sports. And they were educators first and then philanthropists. And so their impacts and their goals and their dreams that they wish to see, I try to continue to grow that legacy as closely to their beliefs as possible. We have kind of we have bylaws and rules that my grandparents set forth that I protect and manage, and that we go, okay, these are their beliefs and ideals that are already built, and we're going to continue that. Our slogan is it's better to light a candle than curse the darkness, which I've always found very, very interesting and stuck with me my whole life, because so many times we live in the dark and we're like, why are all these bad things happening? I can't see, I stubbed my toe, I all this. Well, sure. Light a candle, turn a light on, then you can see what's happening. And so that's what we try to do is be that support, be that foundation when others cannot. And so I'm a firm believer, and I remember what I was going to say earlier and not many people talk about this, but I want to hear this saying more, is direct impact programming. So what that means is an organization that directly impacts individuals. There's a lot of organizations in our world. It's like, oh, how many people did they help? Oh, I don't know. How many no, I personally want to know, not to tell people. Like, this isn't to be like, oh, look at our blah, blah, blah. No, this is for me to do my due diligence and be like, okay, we are actually making a difference. And so for me, my goal is always to find organizations that are deeply rooted in the community, by the community, and that will help the community. and there are a lot of organizations that are counter that, but you learn those very quickly.
Sure. Oh, I bet. Thank you for that. And I think it gives us a broad overlook in terms of what you do and how you do it as being the boss, of course. One of the most exciting things that I just came to find out about very recently is this coming Saturday from 9 to 12:30, you're having it's the inaugural dynamic art festival being held in Brownsville, of course. And what's neat is that you have artists and performers. You are actually opening up the event yourself, and each one of them is going to be doing a separate workshop. So there's going to be, it's an educational, entertaining, and engaging sort of event. So I want to ask you, in terms of opening up, as far as your responsibilities that day, besides opening the event itself, are you going to be presenting? What are you going to be talking about with people? What is the most important priority for you in order to make this a success on Saturday?
What my placement and role of this is to inspire all the kids to learn what they can,
Sure.
to learn as much as they can from these individuals that have worked 10 plus 20 years in industries that they might be interested in and that they might want to go into, and hear stories on how they overcome their struggles and navigate those struggles and navigate into success, and realize that success, what you see on TV, is not reality. Yeah. And so hearing from people that are known in the industry, that maybe not everyone knows, but they work every day, they do shows every day, they're selling scripts every week, they're doing this, they are in the business, and I find it so important to bring reality to people, and be like, hey, anyone can do these jobs. If you want this job, you have every right to go have that job. And where I live here in Brownsville is a very underserved community, not because anyone's doing anything wrong. It's just, there's just a massive gap in society and all over the world. In every major city, there's massive gaps. But here, because it's so finite and tight-knit community, we see these gaps more and more, and the lack of opportunity that people think they have. And so by working with the Mitte Cultural District, the City of Brownsville, the Cameron County community, and myself, as well as my family foundation, because for reference, the Mitte Cultural District and the Mitte Foundation are two different organizations.
Right.
And so working with all these groups to help provide resources and tools to kids that might never leave the Valley. How many kids do you know that never left their hometown? It's been 20 years, 10 years, 30, 50 years, they've never left their town. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the world is very big. And if we can inspire kids to not necessarily leave their town, but inspire them to bring that energy into their town, to revitalize their town, to be like, hey, I can own a business. How if you ask a 13 or 16-year-old kid, do you want to own your own business? A lot of times they look at you and you're like, what do you mean? Like they don't understand that anyone can own their own business. There's this bubble that only rich and powerful people own the company, and that's a lie. Like that, it starts with a dream. Like it starts with a goal. It starts with that, I want this product. I want to be this thing. I want to do this. And then next thing you know, you own your own business, and you're like, I'm making money. I have employees. I have all these things happening to me. What? We've told our kids that you go and you work for someone, but that's the reality is that someone could be you. And so I hope with creating projects like this and continuing my work here, and again, I'm a really big believer in this area that I'm working in, as it's growing to be a very pivotal part of our nation. That I don't want to see the kids here not get the opportunities when people are mostly outsourced here. And so if we can continue to educate youth in our local areas, in our communities, to give them the resources and tools that you could be a SpaceX, you could be a shipping company, you could be all these massive industries that we see that we don't understand. If we can provide the tools and resources to let those kids understand that, those are our leaders, those are our future business owners, and to inspire that. And to me, it's so important to give that to kids that have never seen that before. You know, there's a lot of people that just don't get those resources. And as someone that understands that, I want to fix that.
And it's interesting. I had taken a look at the roster in terms of the different people that you have participating. Ironically, Jordan Ansel was a guest on my show, and he's a friend of mine. So
Oh,
how
really?
neat did you have Jordan? That is so, so cool. I was very excited to see that. Jordan's a terrific guy, and he's very well accomplished, and I just adore him. And I was like, this is awesome. So you've got some great presenters. It is free to the public. It's
Yeah.
going on all morning long. So for 3.5 hours, you can come and enjoy that as far as that stuff goes. So my question to you is this. You have this exciting event that's happening down the road. As far as for the rest of the year, is the foundation doing any other public events or any other places where you're going to be at or doing or putting on anything for the kids or for the community?
Oh yeah, all year long.
Oh,
Not,
okay.
not necessarily from my foundation directly, but
Okay.
working with the cultural district and working with the city of Brownsville. We have numerous events, and if anyone loves Mexican and Latino culture, this is the spot. You don't get any more authentic than down here for food and music festivals. And so we have events here practically every other weekend.
Ah,
Um,
nice.
I'm at not necessarily directly connected to me, but just in general, it's a massive movement here.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Um, Now, before I read off all the various ways where people can find you and the foundation, et cetera, I don't want to forget to ask this question. You had once said some of your goals are you want to be, you had said you wanted to be in the military and also get your master's degree. Is that on the list in the near future, or where does that stand now?
I think one of them are. I'm not sure which one yet.
Ah, still
um,
haven't decided.
Still haven't decided. No, no, I know.
Your next event.
I know it's all good. I'll be there in a moment.
Oh,
Um,
I'm so sorry.
no. We're good. We're good. No, I am. As far as military goes, I think I have other ways that I can serve this world than serving in the forces. But as far as my education goes, I study all the time. Not in an educational, not in a school field, but every day I'm always learning and I'm always studying. And I have a massive project which I just started um this past week that I'm preparing for to start in December of this year going into next year. And so it's quite a lot of study. And so I'm very lucky that I'm surrounded by many professionals that educate me, and I ask questions and I learn my research and I do my own studying. And so um it's hard for me with as many hats as I wear to actually go to sign up for college.
Sure. Oh, I understand completely.
One
I
day.
do. Oh, I understand. I do. The gentleman that has been with us today, his name is RJ Mitte. In case you haven't heard of him, his last name is spelled Mitte. I'm going to list these places off, RJ, and just tell me if I missed anything. The foundation itself has a website, which is Mitte foundation.org.
Yep.
And RJ himself is on IMDb, Wikipedia, Instagram, Facebook, Cameo, and Twitter. Any other place we can find you?
Uh, I think you covered it. I think we got it covered. The one thing I do want to make it known to any individuals that want to support my family foundation, we don't do funding or outside grants. So don't worry about trying to send money. My biggest thing is if you want to support organizations and you want to send your money somewhere, find a local organization in your community that directly impacts what you believe in and what you want to change inside your community. If you want to see community growth, community change, find those organizations that help the kids and help the youth grow, that have a direct impact. And that's the best way that I believe that you can use for your resources and funds. And yeah, I think that's it.
I'll leave it at this. RJ once said this quote, which I just wrote down because I thought it was just so lovely. If you have a disability, you have an asset. You are coming from a different human condition. RJ is most certainly coming from a different place than most. You have a huge heart, and the work that you're doing is so invaluable and inspirational. I have enjoyed this so very much. And I will say this much. My 16-year-old son just said not so long ago that he was going to try to do a psychological thriller. And so after today, I'm going to say to him, if we can get RJ Mitte to do this, I would be very happy. This has just been a delight. I cannot thank you enough. I wish that I was coming on Saturday. I feel badly that I'm not, but I thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Let me stop this recording.